At 57, Jimmy Kimmel stood center stage on Jimmy Kimmel Live, with a confidence and clarity that transformed his late-night persona into something akin to a modern-day public prosecutor, as he launched into a shocking, meticulously constructed, live TV expose, one that dissected Trump's most damning secrets using leaked documents, whistleblower testimony, internal emails, and audio recordings revealing hush money deals, offshore shell companies, campaign finance, irregularities, exotic currency funnels, self-dealing with charitable funds, and power brokering schemes involving foreign dignitaries, arranged in a timeline so cohesive that it felt less like comedy and more like court testimony. And as he paused for effect, leaning into the camera and issuing open invitations to Trump's legal team to fact-check every chart, every chain of evidence, even offering to submit the source materials under legal supervision, viewers could sense he wasn't joking. He was daring to disrupt the assumption that late-night hosts merely juggle jokes, when instead he was delivering heavy, legally dangerous claims. And all of this wasn't merely crafted for laughs. It was affirmation that entertainment platforms now serve as vessels for deep accountability. Because in that studio, Jimmy traced illicit deals where Trump family entities shuttled millions through Cayman accounts, diverted charitable donations into personal projects, orchestrated hush payments via complex real estate transaction loops, and manipulated campaign funds in ways that covered behavior far beyond mere scandal, highlighting payments made to secure silence regarding personal misconduct, financial filings that contradicted tax returns, recordings of edicts instructing aides to override ethical boundaries, and audio files in which Trump could be heard referring to political donations as investments with access, all juxtaposed with transcripts, name-redacted legal notes, and whistleblower quotes from staff who testified that they were silenced repeatedly during the campaign. And when Kimmel played a video clip of an aide whose voice cracked as she recounted a meeting where she was told never ask questions, the audience hushed in a way no punchline ever achieved, because it marked one of the rawest moments of documentation paired with emotion ever seen on network TV. And through it all, Jimmy continued, "This isn't comedy, it's a call to judgment," reminding viewers that a system that allows power to corrupt trusts hears only echoes when victims are silenced. And this broadcast didn't just expose documents, it exposed the gap between public denial and private transactions, where Trump's repeated insistence, "I know nothing," clashed directly with chart after chart of evidence, showing his name tied to shadowy payments, client lists, invitational events at Mar-a-Lago, and flights logged as code names but proven in tax documents. And while Trump's spokespeople immediately called the show defamatory, with press releases calling it scripted political theater, Kimmel calmly replied that he'd provided the documents to 3 major news outlets, that legal counsel had vetted them, and that he would further publish digital copies if asked, essentially putting his platform on the line with enough evidence to meet probable cause for a grand jury in several states, while simultaneously warning public officials these hush deals weren't about money, they were about control. This isn't media drama, it's financial misconduct. And that contrast between late-night punchlines and hard proof stunned media watchers beyond the usual viral clips. In the hours and days that followed, Kimmel's broadcast triggered seismic reaction. Legal filings surfaced echoing points he had made, filing affidavits referencing shell company names he had shown, whistleblower identities confirmed by attorneys, and emails matching exactly his timeline, while multiple state attorneys general announced investigations referencing Kimmel's evidence segments and vowing to subpoena related donors, entities, and campaign advisors. Congressional offices demanded cooperation with those investigations and requested hearings, specifically examining the presented shell structures and alleged pay-for-play schemes, citing the broadcast as a catalyst. Meanwhile, public conversation shifted dramatically. Trending tags like #TruthIsLateNight and #Kimmel accountability spiraled across Twitter, Reddit, and news commentary, with users declaring that an entertainer had provided more coherent legal direction than the mainstream press. Historic late-night formats were broken apart as journalists debated live during commercial breaks whether Kimmel had just delivered late-night justice. Some media critics furiously argued he had overstepped, while others said he had recalibrated the role of satire to serve society's moral compass, demonstrating that where institutions fail, individuals, even TV hosts, can catalyze inquiry when they weaponize truth, not lies. Producers at network channels fielded calls, fact-checking requests, subpoenas, interviews with whistleblowers, all pivoting off that one extended monologue. And Trump's legal team caught off guard by how comprehensive the presentation was. Threatened defamation lawsuits that night, but journalists covering the story noted something: threatened legal action against Kimmel's broadcast might backfire, as it could reveal more channels of exposure they hadn't accounted for, and the host himself answered, saying, "Sue me in court, but let me walk through the evidence with an open judge and jury," a phrase so bold it transformed his role from comedian to citizen adjudicator, marking a new era of media where entertainment anchors bear witness and submit themselves to public record. Both supporters and critics of Trump paused to watch replay after replay of Kimmel's broadcasts, some in disbelief at the evidence, others in admiration for the host's audacity. Former campaign staffers recognized timestamps from project log sheets. Lawyers for victims' families saw echoes of conspiracy to commit exploitation embedded in the same donor correspondence he displayed. And while no charges had yet been filed at midnight when the broadcast ended, court clocks began ticking, grand jury deadlines started to approach in multiple states, evidence vaults reopened, and even forensic accountants began mapping the payment flows just as Jimmy predicted on air. In that single 3-hour broadcast, ostensibly a comedy show, Jimmy revealed scandal after scandal, laid out financial trails, exposed hush payments, created a case-building narrative without a prosecutor, and ended with a simple but chilling line: "Tonight, I showed you what wealth can't hide. Now it's up to the system or the people to finish it." And as the credits rolled, the sound studio remained silent, the audience stunned, the staff breathless. And the world realized that this wasn't just a late-night moment, it was a shift in civic engagement where televised hosts can deliver indictments with sound bites, emotion, and documentation and survive, because he said he'd back everything up in court if challenged. And that promise turned the entire broadcast into a high-stakes opening statement, in real time, live TV, with millions watching, lawsuits pending, congressional hearings brewing, and insiders remarking he just turned late night into an oversight body. While survivors' advocates cheered, legislators took notes, newsrooms scrambled, and late-night formats began to change. Satire now met investigation. Humor bowed to gravity. Truth became the punchline worth fighting for. And in that moment, Jimmy Kimmel reminded the world that silence invites darkness, but a well-documented truth, even dressed as jokes, can cast the longest shadow over perhaps deliver justice in places headlines never reached.
Please don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon.